Do I feel burnt out at 24 years old? I've not even been in my full-time career job 2 years. It's coming up to 2 years this year. And I feel drained, and I feel like my soul is being crushed, and that's not even an exaggeration.
Breaking news as new data is out showing a 296% increase in total mass retail layoffs. And it makes sense, you guys, because it seems like every other week or every other day, a retail company is going bankrupt, just like Rite Aid did on Monday. Now, in addition to the retail layoff report, we're also going to dig into the absolute catastrophe that is the student loan default crisis right now. Somehow, and it makes no sense to me, but somehow 20% of school loan holders are in serious delinquency. Not even normal delinquency, you guys. I guess the colleges that they went to did not teach them how to balance a checkbook. Now, our ending segment is going to be on the new updated bankruptcy data that shows an increase in all types of bankruptcies. Now, the thing is, guys, the economy and the labor market continue to unravel, and hopefully by you watching these videos, you're able to see through the mainstream smokescreen so you can actually prepare for hard times that are coming. And there's a big and here, you guys, with a little luck and a lot of patience, find the deal of your dreams. And happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Mitch Vexler, how are you today, sir?
Good. I was just taking a look to the left, and NASDAQ is down, gold, silver, completely sideways. And I believe at 1 o'clock today, the FOMC, that's the Federal Reserve, is going to come out with their notes. Will they raise interest rates? Will they not raise interest rates? This stuff is just insanity, but the market is basically going sideways because it doesn't know what to do.
A lot of people don't know what to do. It seems like the entire mainstream media has gotten it wrong, and it seems like other countries are laughing at us like we're a joke, like the consumers are a joke, because they can see we're being lied to. Apparently, we can't see we're being lied to. Either way, Mitch, let's get started on our first segment. This article came out on May 6th, titled, "One of the biggest workforces in the U.S. is facing mass layoff." If there's one thing that's consistent in the world, not just the U.S. right now, it is that there will be news about layoffs seemingly every single week. It's a scary time in the workforce, and especially if you're in the tech sector. In 2024, more than 150,000 job cuts occurred in the tech sector, such as Amazon, Google, Tesla, and Microsoft, to name a few. Unfortunately, according to this article, it seems layoffs are also trending into 2025. Obviously, quantitative tightening, right? Not just in tech, but across many sectors. Perhaps the most notable wave so far has been driven by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, which has cut so many jobs that those layoffs rank as the third largest layoffs of all time. A lot of layoffs. While lawsuits already exist that claim the Trump administration's mass layoffs are illegal, one thing is for sure, they've left hundreds of thousands of people unemployed and unsure of what to do next. Unemployment also comes with a nasty side effect, staying unemployed for longer, and that is really horrible, actually. Ongoing unemployment claims are at the highest level since November of 2021, the labor market announced in April. Now, another job sector is under threats of mass layoffs, and it's one that many people rely heavily on to survive. This year saw a distressing amount of job cuts. A new report from consulting firm The Challenger, Gary and Christmas, sheds distressing light on the vulnerable job sector, which is retail. According to the report, U.S. retailers eliminated more than 64,000 jobs in the first 4 months of 2024. The second most of any industry. The 4-month total is a 296% increase for the same 4-month span in 2024. Retail bankruptcies have played a big role in this surge. Several longtime retailers announced bankruptcies in 2025, including Jo-Ann Fabrics, which left an astonishing 19,000 employees without a job, as well as Party City, which filed for bankruptcy twice and left 16,000 workers unemployed, and Big Lots, which is finding new life after its bankruptcy, but has still had to lay off 1,000 people in the process. It's not even talking about Rite Aid. Retailers that are not in bankruptcy have also had to conduct mass layoffs. Starbucks was one of them, laying off 1,100 corporate employees in February and telling remaining employees that they needed to step their game up. Why is that news? Every employer should tell their employees, hey, you got to step up, right? Isn't that normal? Comment below, guys. Maybe that's not normal. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned, but I want to hear from you. Comment below. Isn't that normal? Step your game up. Then there's the corporate restructuring, which there's been a lot of so far this year with CVS, Walmart, JCPenney, Saks. These are just a few of the companies that have made cuts this year after struggling with considerable headwinds. And that was prior to the tariffs, you guys. The reason behind an increase in retail layoffs, while bankruptcy is an obvious reason for a large number of these layoffs, another reason may be that the retail industry is steeling itself from the inevitable effects that President Trump's tariffs could have on its future operations. Here we go again with the tariffs. Many companies have said they will lose billions of dollars this year while shifting manufacturing and supply chains to the U.S. from China. Then maybe they shouldn't have created so many jobs for China. Maybe they should have kept their facilities here in America because they're American companies. Again, I may be old-fashioned. Losing so much money naturally hardly puts a company in a position to hire more people. If anything, it makes layoffs more likely. So, Mitch, if you can please, sir, and we've talked about this before, but if you can articulate why it is that, we've been covering layoffs, fraud, corruption, greed, debt to GDP, PE ratio. I mean, we've been covering everything about volatility, about the chaos in the economy and the chaos in the labor market, yet mainstream media still to this day basically say there's absolutely no problems in the labor market. There's no volatility. Everyone's watching the rates for some reason, and everyone's watching and talking about the tariffs for some reason, and nobody is talking about the important things about what's going on under the hood. Why is that, Mitch?
Because they are economic ignorance. That's the bottom line. They haven't got a clue what they're talking about, and the nonsense they're spreading is pure propaganda. So let me try and break this down to help everybody understand how this is all connected. The central appraisal districts are irrefutably overvaluing and overtaxing properties by virtue of fraud. Step one. Step two, the Federal Reserve, by virtue of printing, and they have printed over $26 trillion in the last 5 years, plus the unfunded liabilities, plus 37 trillion of US national debt, plus 5 trillion of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae nonsense, which is causing rents on the Section 8 housing, et cetera, to go up. All of that, those two issues, causes inflation. And the connection to every single American, without exception, is the fraud that is occurring by those two entities. So how does that happen? Well, we did an analysis on a hamburger and how much real estate tax is inside your hamburger or inside your cappuccino. The point is, when you go shopping, you buy food, you buy fuel, that's energy. All of these things have a component of real estate tax in them. All of these things, including what your employer buys to employ you, has the fraud built into it. It has the overvaluation, the overtaxation, and the fraud as a direct result of the Federal Reserve printing money. All that fraud has a real cost. It's now coming out. That true cost is coming out by what you see happening with people being unemployed and corporations filing bankruptcy. They continue to debt themselves up, in many cases, the corporations, to try and offset the damage that was being done by the fraud because they couldn't articulate it. We're laying the case out that these two elements of fraud, we've done it, we've filed it, we've shown it, it's on my website, it's on commonsense.law.org. It's all there. We've laid it out. Travis has got dozens of videos. Not a single person from the government, nobody can offset the evidence that we've got. It's their documents. Well, if they can't offset it and they don't have an argument, and the ramifications of them not being able to offset it or have an argument is the fact that these entities are going bankrupt and they're taking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people with them. The fraud has a cost, and that cost is now being laid out bare for the entire world to see. And the press has got it wrong.
Well said, Mitch, as usual. I'm going to go in now to talk about the school loan defaults. But before I go into that segment, I want to listen to a TikTok video from a teacher. It's from a teacher who has, and it's actually pretty sad, but it's real. And she is essentially given up on today's youth. Take a listen, and then we'll jump into school loans.
Not gonna lie, I'm here for one reason only, and that's to say this. This generation of students, kids, whatever y'all want to call them, they're cooked. There's no hope. I done did all I can. I done tried my hardest. I'm a teacher. I done tried my hardest. I teach high school. And I have no hope. Like, I'm not even trying to, like, nothing about this is funny. I'm so serious. Like, disrespectful, addicted to phones. No need to or want to follow directions. No respect for authority. Like, there's, like, all of this is out the window. Like, there's none of that. I genuinely question every day if I want to have kids of my own because of how cooked this generation is. I pray for y'all kids. My kids are gonna be weird. They ain't gonna have friends because they could never. Never.
The name of this article is Student Loan Collections Resume as Record Number of Borrowers Fall Behind on Their Payments, and just one late payment is going to drastically affect your credit, especially if you're serious delinquent and 3 months behind. Now, millions of student loan borrowers could face a wake-up call on Monday, 2 days ago, as the Department of Education resumes collecting on school loans. The restart of collections comes as data from a recent analyst shows delinquency rate among people with student debt are at an all-time high. After nearly 5 years since the U.S. government first paused federal student loan payments and interest accrual as a temporary relief measure during the COVID-19 pandemic, May 5th marks the first day the Education Department's Office of Federal Student Aid restarts collection on defaulted federal student loans. Referrals for collections have been put on hold since March 2020, again because of the pandemic. The level of concern here really depends on the reasons borrowers have not paid their federal student loans. If they don't have the capacity, they may be overstretched. They may not know they have to pay them. I mean, so I'm not even going to go there. May not be able to find the information, now that's possible, and may not be willing to pay for one reason or another. And now this is crazy. Still, 1 in 5 borrowers, or 20%, are seriously delinquent or past due 90 days or more, according to TransUnion. Millions at risk of defaulting. The Credit Bureau's finding underscores how student loan repayments have struggled to get back on track. Out of 19.6 million student loan borrowers, that's a lot, TransUnion found that roughly 20% are at risk of defaulting, but they've actually already defaulted. Mitch, there are young adults that are now starting to figure out that maybe for them, college wasn't the best thing. They're left with debt and overwhelming amounts of school debt, especially if they became like a doctor, even teachers. I mean, people are drowning in school debt. So my question is, should people and should children continue to even go to college? Or, there's an or, should they just not go to college and focus on some type of career school or a trade school and hone in specifically on what they want to learn to advance their lives versus, again, the bureaucracy in the colleges now? Should we stop sending our children to college?
There's different stratas of personalities, and vocational schooling, in my humble opinion, depending what the job is that they seek, is by far the best way to go. People that go to take underwater basket weaving as an example are going to have a very difficult time getting a job. And part of the problem is not necessarily the individual, but if they go to a university and a university offers a weak course or courses and does not have counselors to guide that person as to what the opportunities of that university provide, that's a huge problem. You have people there as counselors that have jobs that aren't doing anything, right? So you have different stratas. People, depending on who the parents are, come up, they kind of understand what they want to do in life and they pursue that avenue. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe they want to pursue something else. But if you don't know what that something else is or where it is, it's a problem. So there's multiple fingers to point in multiple directions here. I had the experience of going to Princeton, Texas, and seeing a vocational school firsthand, and it was quite impressive. In fact, people from Plano send their children to the vocational school in Princeton, Texas. So there are multiple ways for people to get educated and get a job that they want in something that they are good at. But there is a lack of coordinated ability to get them there. So the whole process, in my humble opinion, has got to be re-examined. A lot of people have got to get fired, and then people have got to be able to be reached in terms of the students and say, here's the options. And that's just not happening.
Yeah, my wife and I talk about this all the time as far as what we plan on doing with our children. And what we decided is we're not going to force our children to go to college, not at all. What we'll do instead is we'll teach them how to be as independent as possible, teach them how to be self-employed. I'm going to teach them how to edit, how to do video. And that way, whatever they want to do, they can complement that by having additional skills to market their business. I think that's the way to go. Unless they want to sell medical equipment, then they need a college degree. I was always surprised by that. I could never get into medical sales because I didn't have a college education. Now, what I want to do is we're going to go into the bankruptcies now, consumer bankruptcies, as well as corporate bankruptcies, Mitch. Before I go into that report, I'm going to play a video that was recorded on TikTok just one day ago from a young woman that is about to face bankruptcy, because the ultimate question here is, if someone's struggling and drowning in debt, should they go bankrupt? Listen to this video.
When you're financially struggling, it almost feels like you're trying to see the light through a dark tunnel. But then as you feel like you're getting a breakthrough, something happens. And it's the worst feeling. If you have never gone through financially struggling, you will never know what we go through, what that feeling is like, especially when you have to live paycheck by paycheck. You have to depend on that paycheck that comes every 2 weeks. Mind you, you still have to worry about trying to pay mortgage, trying to keep up with bills, trying to pay groceries. I do get EBT help, but some of you seem to forget, one, how expensive groceries are. You guys think that whatever amount of food stamps that they give us, that it's going to last us forever. I love to come on here and just overall love to share my life, whatever it is that I'm going through, because I know so many of you can relate to whatever it is that I'm going through. And I will never change. I will never change.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, it's okay to change. It's okay to change, especially if it betters yourself. I want you guys to change. In fact, I hope that this video changes you. Let's go into the next report now. This article comes to you from a Zero Hedge titled Chapter 7 Individual Bankruptcies in April are up 16% year over year. So Chapter 7 bankruptcy filings by Americans rose to 16% to hit 30,961 filings in April, the American Bankruptcy Institution said May 2nd. And I want to remind you guys, Chapter 7 is not like a Chapter 13. A Chapter 7, as long as you qualify for it, is generally income driven, allows you to completely walk away from your debt, as well as protecting you from certain lawsuits. Now you're going to want to consult an attorney. A Chapter 13 bankruptcy is where you guys get to basically put a timeout, you protect yourself from lawsuits, but you have to come up with a payment plan and you have to pay back some of your debt. Total individual filings, which includes submissions from both individuals and also businesses, were up 9% year over year. When an individual resorts to Chapter 7 bankruptcy, the court assesses the value of his or her assets and sells them to pay as many of the outstanding debts as possible, unless you don't have assets, which generally you don't have assets if you're going bankrupt. Any remaining debt is canceled. There it is. The individual gets to keep some of the assets they were exempted from in the process. The 9% increase in total bankruptcy filings in April, particularly the 16% surge in individual Chapter 7 filings, reflects the mounting financial strain on households, elevated prices, and higher borrowing costs. While individual bankruptcy filings jumped in April, the county's overall economic situation has improved. Wow. Over the past months, according to the employment and inflation data. Well, I didn't know that, Mitch. Whoever the author is here, he may know something that we don't. That's surprising to hear this author say that because they're delusional to say it. In April, the U.S. economy added 177,000 new jobs, which followed 185,000 additional in March, according to the BLS. Another quote here, this is the second month in a row where the job report has beat expectations. But remember, I mean, again, last month, according to the Challenger report, we haven't had that many job cuts since 2009. So what are they talking about here? What are you guys talking about? Wages are continuing to rise and labor force participation is increasing. This is exactly what we want to see. More Americans working for higher wages, more winning is on the way. And then an exclamation mark. Wow, that, you know, and I agree with that. Unfortunately, they're not explaining how we need deflation. Meanwhile, according to the BLS, the 12-month annual inflation rate dipped to 2.4%, well away from 2%, by the way. Commercial bankruptcy, private equity. According to the May 2nd ABI statement, overall commercial bankruptcy filings made by businesses decreased by 12% on April year over year. So there was one area that decreased, probably because of foreclosure instead. There was a 4% growth in subchapter V business filings, which highlights the ongoing challenges for small businesses seeking relief, pointing to the broader need for accessible restructuring options. This continues a troubling trend. In 2024, private equity-backed companies comprised 11%, holy, I didn't know this, 11% of all bankruptcies, interesting, and 54% of large bankruptcies. That's very intriguing. Just 3 months into 2025, the industry is already outpacing that track record. Bankruptcies are a key bellwether signaling the broader risk associated with private equity investments. For investors and the public alike, bankruptcy trends mark a critical moment and highlight the industry's need for regulation and transparency. Mitch, when a consumer falls behind, there are apparently many solutions for them to catch up, like debt settlement, debt consolidation, all of which, consumer credit counseling, all of which are, in my opinion, a Ponzi scheme. You know, I went bankrupt. I have had a Chapter 7 back in 2009, and I walked away, and I'm ashamed to say this, but to be transparent here, I did walk away from roughly $200,000 in credit card debt. At the time I was 23, I didn't know how to rebound, and so that led me into years of depression. However, looking back, now that I know what I know now, and now that I know that everyone goes bankrupt, every business goes bankrupt, and they just keep on trucking, do you think, given the options, okay, if a consumer is drowning in credit card debt, they're falling behind, they're starting to get lawsuit notices, do you think that a Chapter 7 or even a 13 is a good, potentially good solution for a consumer that is trapped and behind on their consumer debt?
First, with regard to that young lady, she is a prime example of what proves to be the complete failure of the education system. If you go to school and you can't learn to balance a checkbook in that school and what life is really about outside of that school to help you in the future, the school system itself has failed. And we can talk about the taxes and ramifications of all that, which everybody that watches these videos knows, but the bottom line is the school system has failed and she's proof. It's tough. But I want to take it up one notch and explain that there's 143 million houses in the United States. All of our math that we have published shows that 37% of those households are in harm's way of bankruptcy right now, today. That's 52 million houses. Now, for the sake of conversation, let's say that either mom or pop loses the job. So let's take 52 million and divide that by 2, just for the sake of conversation. That's 26 million people. Now, let's talk about the Great Depression for a second. In the Great Depression, 25% is what the max unemployment number hit. The problem here is that you've got debt plus inflation, which is the decrease in purchasing power. The combination of those two equals bankruptcy. The point is, and what we've been pounding the table on, is that this is going to ramp up. This is not going to go away. It's going to get much worse because the government, both state and federal, continue to commit fraud on the public. The Federal Reserve is a fraud. Central appraisal districts and the school districts are committing fraud, straight up. We've got the evidence. It's on our website. You can go and look it up. The point of the matter is the problems aren't going to go away. They are going to get much worse. And even these companies are saying, well, it's not our fault, but they can't articulate what the problem is. It's simple. Debt plus inflation equals bankruptcy. There's your formula. So does that mean that everybody has to take bankruptcy who's suffering? The problem is Chapter 7 is over, right? It's basically you walk away and you have to go through it. But even that costs money unless you get a pro bono bankruptcy attorney. There's no good answer here. The problem is the inflation is so great, the debt continues to compound cumulatively. There is no answer but the bankruptcy. And then that person has got to start over and say, now I've got to go get another job. Do they have the proper education to get that job at that point in time? Who knows? But the point is that they have become slaves. The American public has become slaves to fraud. That's where we are. That is what's happening. That's why so many restaurants are closing. They can't make these numbers work. One of the reasons I can't buy real estate, I can't make the numbers work. You say, well, so-and-so went and did a real estate transaction. They did a transaction. The question is, can they make any money, or do they use other people's money to do that transaction? They picked up a fee in the middle, i.e. private equity, and screwed over their shareholders. That's easy. You want to screw over your shareholders? It can be done in a nanosecond. Just become a giant vacuum cleaner and start sucking up all the real estate in your past. Piece of cake. Problem is, none of it will make any money. And anybody that got involved as a shareholder in it is going to get screwed. So until the governments start going after the trillions, not the billions, it's great that they're going after the billions to save money. Bottom line is, it's a spit in the ocean, and the compound cumulative effect, as you can see on the rollover of the currency, the bottom line is it cannot be, you can't get in front of it. The debt load is so great, compound cumulative, there's simply no way to save enough money fast enough to start reversing the debt clock. That's the problem.
Once again, Mitch, well said. If you're a viewer, comment below. Let us know what you thought about those answers and also those questions. And I want to say this thing here, guys. If you are tired of being a fraud slave, then please help us hold these people accountable. You guys know that on Monday, I dropped off the criminal complaint to the DA's office, and I sent that to Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice. And we also made a short version, a simplified version of the criminal complaint, which all you really need to do, especially if you're in Texas, well, if you're in Houston especially, is your name and address. In fact, not only is this easy, and I want you guys to go to the description of this video, and I want you to take it seriously, and please, you guys do that. But on top of that, Mitch and I, we're coming. We're coming, and we're going to start with Austin. We're going to be showing up. We're going to be doing seminars all for free, and we're going to help people fill out these criminal complaints because we are sick and tired of sitting back. And a couple things. Number one, the fraud, greed, and corruption, but also we're sick and tired of people not doing anything. So please don't be like those people. Please do something. And either way, we're going to be trying to go around to different areas in the state of Texas, and we are going to try desperately to create an army of individual citizens that are ready and capable at holding these parties responsible for the fraud they have been committing. Other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in your life, real estate, your children, your schooling, your education, whatever it is, you guys already know, we wish you luck and we hope you win.